So today we're going to unpack this huge paradox that's sitting right at the heart of artificial intelligence. We're drawing from some really deep reports from MIT and IBM to figure out why billions of dollars in AI investment are just vanishing for most companies, and what that tiny successful group is doing to totally crack the code.
All right, let's just start with a number, a big one, 95%. And you should really let that sink in because this number represents
The failure rate of enterprise GenAI pilots. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about an estimated $30 to $40 billion poured into this tech. And for the vast majority of projects, there's absolutely zero return on investment. So you gotta ask, right? With all that money and all that hype floating around, what is going on here? And more importantly, how do you make sure your company doesn't end up on the wrong side of this? Well, this massive gap between all the investment and the lack of results, it actually has a name. MIT, in a pretty big report, they're calling it the GenAI Divide. And what is the GenAI Divide? It's this crazy contrast between super high adoption, everybody's trying it, and incredibly low transformation. Companies are experimenting like there's no tomorrow, but almost no one is seeing any real fundamental change to how they operate or to their bottom line. And check this out. This chart just lays it all out there. You see that first bar? That's adoption. Huge, right? Over 80% of companies have messed around with tools like ChatGPT. But then you look at that second bar, transformation, and it's tiny. A mere 5% have actually managed to integrate AI into their core work in any meaningful way. That gap, that's the divide. You know, there's this quote from a COO in that MIT report that just nails it. He said, "The hype on LinkedIn says everything has changed, but in our operations, nothing fundamental has shifted. For 95% of businesses, that's the reality." Okay, so that begs the question, what's the secret sauce for that 5%? What are they doing that everyone else isn't? Well, both the MIT and IBM reports point to one single core problem they've figured out how to solve. It's what the MIT report calls the learning gap. And think about it, this makes so much sense. We all love using tools like ChatGPT for, kicking around ideas. But the second the stakes get high, when a system absolutely needs to remember what a client likes or learn from a mistake it made last week, today's tools just fall flat. They forget. And that right there is the root cause of the entire divide. So let's really break this down. The difference in strategy is night and day when you look at them side by side. You've got the trap that catches almost everyone versus the playbook that the successful 5% are using. So the 95%, they get caught in this trap of chasing the shiny new toys in sales and marketing, because the results seem easy to see. But the 5%, they're playing a totally different game. They're digging into the back office, automating operations, and wiping out millions in spending on outsourcing and agencies. That's where the real money is. And it's not just what they focus on, it's how they do it. The 95%, they're looking for the easy button using tools that are, quote, brittle in workflows. But the 5%, they actually embrace what MIT calls friction. They want that resistance because that's what forces their AI systems to actually learn, to adapt, and to get smarter over time. So this whole idea, this need for systems that can actually learn and remember, well, it leads us right to the next big thing in AI. It's the solution that both the MIT and the IBM reports point to as the way to finally close that learning gap. And that's where we meet Agentic AI. Now, let's be clear, this is not just another chatbot. These are systems designed from the ground up to have memory, to have learning loops built right in. Like the IBM report says, they're making the shift from just saying things to actually doing things. They remember, they adapt, and they can run entire workflows all by themselves. And get ready for this, because adoption is set to just explode. We're talking about an 8 times increase in AI-powered workflows by 2026, and that surge is going to be driven almost entirely by these new agentic systems. So, why are execs so excited about this? Well, it's pretty simple when you look at the benefits they expect. This isn't about hype anymore. This is about real, tangible results, making smarter decisions with better information, and, you guessed it, achieving major cost savings through automation that actually works. But, okay, let's be real. It's not a magic bullet. This transition has its own set of challenges. The IBM report is pretty clear that big concerns around IP, data accuracy, trust, and just finding people with the right skills, these are all very real hurdles that companies are going to have to figure out. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. The vision for this stuff goes way beyond just having smart agents inside your company.
We are literally on the edge of a brand new kind of internet.
MIT has a name for it, the Agentic Web. And the idea is to replace our current internet of siloed apps and websites with this whole ecosystem of autonomous agents that can find each other, negotiate with each other, and coordinate tasks across the entire web.
So what does that actually mean? I mean, what does it look like? Just imagine for a second a system that can find the best parts supplier on its own and then negotiate the contract for you. Or a system that builds its own software integrations in real time to create a workflow that optimizes itself. That's the game-changing promise of this agentic web. And just so you know where all this incredible insight is coming from, everything we've walked through today is based on some really deep, cutting-edge research from two of the biggest names in the space: MIT with their report, The GenAI Divide, and the IBM Institute for Business Value with their study, From AI Projects to Profits.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway thought here. We're at this massive turning point. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: is your organization still stuck on the wrong side of that divide, trying to jam these static, old-school tools into a dynamic world? Or are you getting ready for a future where intelligent learning agents don't just help your business, they run it?